I'm Aaron Hayden, and this is Dragonheart.
Hello and welcome to Dragonheart. Crazy, historic weekend at the racecourse this weekend. So who better to break it down with the full Dragonheart cast this time? Bill Long, Neil Williams, and Mark had to cancel his 5:30 hair appointment yet again.
Yeah.
And he is finally joining us. So it's nice for us to have our presence graced by a Disney legend like yourself, Mark.
Well, thank you very much. I am very much the Mickey Mouse member of Calon FM. If you, anyone watching the video can see, my hair is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It really is. It's a real sight to be seen.
It is, isn't it? And it can now be seen from space. Just like the Great Wall of China can't be. Because that's not true. I just give and give, don't I? Just teach and teach.
And he's back.
I should say. I should have that note. I see. Rebelling, like a palace coup. I should say that, I listened to your scurrilous impersonation of a radio show last week. And, I just have to say that you claimed I went for a hair appointment. And that's not true. The fact of the matter is that much as I love spending time with you guys, I had an invitation to an all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet, and you came a very distant second.
Yeah, I don't blame you, to be fair, because I would have done the same.
Thank you very much. And I've got to say that the seafood Thai curry was a triumph.
Oof.
Calamari, and it was amazing.
That sounds really, really good, to be fair.
It was very good. Yeah,
anyway, talking about things that are good, we've got
oh, man.
Ben Foster's debut, second debut, and a really good win against York on Saturday for the men's team. And we also have a historic game to talk about with the women's game on the Sunday, which was great fun. And then we also have a friendly match against Man United in San Diego to talk about. So we won't be breaking down the game, but we'll be talking about the occasion, of course, because it's a friendly. Anyway, let's stop messing around. Let's get right back to it. This is Dragonheart.
I'm Liam McClendon and this is Dragonheart.
York City was a really tough game, wasn't it? In the end, they were really, really resilient. But we got the 3 points in the end, Bill. You got to be happy with that.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree. It was a tough game. I think we walked through them, to be honest. 3-0. They were a good side. You got to give them that. They provided a little bit of a challenge, and I think if we'd have gone in at half-time 0-0, it might have been a little bit more difficult in that second half. But we deserved all 3 goals and cruise control. Really, I think maybe it's just me. I don't know. It's different when you're sat in the stands, isn't it? To when you're analysing the game. Maybe it's a perspective I didn't quite see, Neil.
It could have been a lot more, to be honest. Mullin could have had a hat trick, missed a header. Took on the keeper when he tried to dink the keeper. We hit the post, Barnett hit the post, and they only had one real shot on goal. I mean, I think we defended as a team very well, and our attack was great. We caught them on the break, but Barnett on the wing was superb, taking on players who crossed into the box. And I thought we had quite an easy game. We had a comfortable game. I didn't say easy, comfortable game against them. On paper, would have looked like a tough game, and they did put up a lot. They had a lot of the ball, but we seem to allow that to happen to a lot of the teams that come to the racecourse. Give them the ball, but then we just break them down. Our passing is just sublime, and the finishing. James Jones's shot that hit the bar, that went in off the keeper was just inch low. The keeper was not going to stop it anyway, but unfortunate for the keeper, and that was 1-0 half time.
Chay, you've got to learn to relax. Okay?
I did feel really anxious in that game, to be fair. It was I found it a lot more anxious than every other fan, I think. But I thought York looked like they were threatening at times. It looked like they could have scored at times, but
I think that's it's a classic case of you feel tense during a match because you don't know what's going to happen next. And then when you step back afterwards and look at it, you see that Foster made a sharp save. And the problem for us was we didn't put a second goal past them until the 80th minute. So if Foster hadn't made that save, it would have been 1-1 and we'd have been in a situation. Yeah. But beyond that, they genuinely didn't really test us. And yeah, like you say, when you watch the game, you think, oh, you got to pay these guys respect. They have something about them. They were able to get into our half. They were able to control possession sometimes in our half, and obviously with a big target man like John Lewis, the shop. There's going to be issues. Anything like chance came from a ball hit him and actually stuck, and then they were able to build off that. But looking back at it, as it turned out, they didn't really. I mean, Foster had a nice quiet game. Like I say, one sharp save to his left, one quite straightforward take to his right when they drove it across the face of goal. You'd expect him to take those, and to be honest, I think, to be fair to Mark Howard, he'd have taken those. Yeah. I think it looked good that Foster was coming out and claiming a lot of crosses, and I think that Foster, as we'll talk about later, is a very high-class goalkeeper. But the crossing was awful. They were lofting this silly wiffle ball, floaty shuttlecock stuff into our goal mouth, and Howard would have come and dominated as well. That's not a criticism of Foster, just to say he didn't have that much to do. With hindsight, they look neat, and I think you're dead right. Resilient. Yeah, they were resilient and they fought and they made us fight to kill the game off, and that's a good quality to have. But yeah, I think we were comfortable really with the codicil of 1 goal's never comfortable enough.
I think York strike me as one of those sides, like maybe next season if they stay up, which I think they probably will. If they add a couple class players, will be a decent side next season in the National League. They just were missing a few parts, weren't they? A couple, maybe a quality striker and a quality centre midfielder, I think.
Yeah, and we're not an ordinary team for this league, are we? Let's be fair. Yeah. We're not even ordinary league leaders, neither are Notts County in fairness, but we're a side that are just absolutely dominating everyone that comes to the racecourse. Everyone. Woking are the only team, and obviously Sheffield United, but they're championship sides, that's a bit different. But Woking are the only team that really come and give us a game. Everyone else we flattened for the most part.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Fair play to York. They did look all right, but they're not threatening that back three who, let's be fair, does Aaron Hayden get back into this team?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think York, I was talking to the BBC York reporters before, so quite early on before when we were setting up, and I was saying to them, I've had so many managers, they got rid of one manager, had an interim manager, then another manager, now they're on to their second interim manager, and they said they're struggling to find a permanent manager at the moment. And I thought, why is this? And they said, well, look at our squad. It's much better than the results and the positions they're getting. So, they're looking at the managers getting more out of them, but they got a lot of decent players. But I think maybe, you hit the nail on the head there, Bill. In another season, that York side would give us serious problems. Yeah. But this season, we're too good.
Yeah, we contained it very well, didn't they? They had quite a bit of possession of the ball, but they didn't hurt us in any way apart from that one shot on goal, which went out. The keeper saved really well. It was straight at him, fortunately, but I thought they didn't offer a lot against us. They plastered off the back a lot, and in the second half we just went up a gear, I think, and made the substitutions. Parkinson again brought Derby on. He made a difference. He had an assist and he scored a goal. I think the only, as you say, the only game we had a problem with was Woking, but we've given a lot of time on the ball to other teams that have come here, but they've not damaged us. They've not scored masses of goals against us. So I think we're very comfortable in allowing the opposition to actually have ball and just pass it across the back, and then we start pressing and they lose the ball, and that's what that we're winning. What we won 27 on the trot now, so unbeaten. Sorry, not winning. Yeah. Unbeaten 27 games, 100 goals. We couldn't ask for more of that. Beginning of the season, we'd have all bit your hand off for that.
Yeah. This side, and we keep on saying it every week. There's nothing new, is it? This side is just completely incredible, and it's the squad that's completely incredible as well. You have Aaron Hayden, who should be coming back soon. As Bill said a second ago, does he get back? Does he get into the side at this moment in time?
Possibly not. I mean, why would you change that back three? They're a wall, aren't they? They're absolutely phenomenal.
I know Aaron Hayden scores lots of goals as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's very good on Tozer's long throws, so you would be tempted. But having said that, I've been sort of pondering this and sort of picking, if everybody is fit, a notional first 11.
Yeah, it'd be tough.
And okay, I've come to a conclusion, but let me run through my notional second 11 and ask you the question: Would this notional second 11 win the National League? Well, maybe not with Notts County around, but a normal National League. Yeah. You'd have Langton in goal. You'd have probably Tunnicliffe, Cleworth. I'm going to buy Hayden in. That's harsh on Tunnicliffe. Tunnicliffe, Cleworth and Butler would be the three centre-backs, I'd say. Your wing-backs would be Barnett and McFadden. In midfield, well, I mean, let's be honest, you may well have last season's midfield that was so brilliant. Jordan Davis, Luke Young, James Jones. And then up front, Dolby and Waters. That sounds to me like a side that, at the very least, is going to be very high up in the playoffs.
Sounds like a side that did really well in the playoffs.
Sounds like one of the best Wrexham teams of the last 20 years.
Yeah,
amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, the depth is absolutely crazy. Now, I think that's what the key difference between this season and last season was. You know, we've got O'Connell in instead of, say, Tyler French. You know, I'm not criticising Tyler French. He was a decent right wing back and centre back, but he's not on the same level of what we've got as cover now, is he, Bill?
Oh, absolutely not. And I think we've got two. Cleworth was better than Tyler French last year by, if we're being fair, some distance, and he's not getting a look in the side.
No.
Yeah. Then you got Ford coming back.
Yeah.
You've got O'Connor to come back. Where would you be in your squad, Mark, as well?
Well, okay. My suggested first 11, but I'm not going to push this because I think, frankly, the squad's made for rotation.
Yeah.
But if you were to really push me and we were in the cup final, we had to pick an 11, I think I'd go Foster, Hayden, Tozer, O'Connell, Ford, Mendy, Cannon, Lee, O'Connor, Mullen, Palmer. But there are plenty of players there who I could easily see, you know, other people coming in and reasonably enough. You know, I'm not trying to say that there's a wafer thin difference between some of those players. Right?
Yeah, Jordan Davis, who banged, what was it, 20 odd goals? Was it 20 something, wasn't it? Low 20s last season. I mean,
dead ball specialist as well.
Yeah.
I mean, these are fabulous players.
Luke Young, who's our captain, they don't get into the first 11 potentially, do they? Which is, I think in midfield we've gone from having the midfield be our weakness last year to it being the best part of our team, and each of the 6 players are completely interchangeable with each other. They've got qualities that fit each other. You've got Young, who can cover in that defensive midfield role, but you'd prefer to have O'Connor or Cannon there. You could probably play James Jones in a pinch in that position. He could play right wing back in a pinch. Yeah. Elliot Lee can play up front in a pinch. If we wanted to change formation, Davis could play on the wing, or he could maybe in a severe circumstances cover left wing back. It's insane. It's insane, and that's a midfield 6 that I think, dare I say, it does very, very well in League Two as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you think, you know, Jones didn't play for quite a long time of this season, did he? He's the first team or the first choice midfielder, and he's slotted in again now. Whoever they've taken out, whether it be Young, but he's done really well. He's upped his game, and that's what the quality in the squad has done. It's made that competition between the players far, far better, and they upped the game on the pitch.
And like you say, I mean, Jones did get a run at the start of the season, and he was superb. And when he lost his place, you think, wow, it shows. Well, it's harsh, but that's football. We've got such quality that he can be playing out of his skin. Oh, you're out of the team now, mate. Sorry. And then you can say he's come back in and is really playing well. But the quality, the depth, and the form of these players.
We also have, you know, people on the real outskirts of the squad who would have been in the squad 2-3 years ago. Like Bickerstaff would have been starting in that Dean Keats season a couple of years ago, wouldn't he? You've got Butler, and you've got loads of other players.
McAlinden, Hosanna, Hall Johnson.
Yeah.
I didn't even mention them when I was talking about that team.
Yeah, which is
Cracking players.
Yeah, and that's when this reserve team is really coming into play, and I think that's a real positive thing that's come in this season.
Kai Davis, as Kai Evans, even the better version of Kai Davis. If you're called Kai Davis, I apologise. Kai Evans was really making strides coming through, and don't get me wrong, I think Parkinson will look to continue to encourage young players, no question. But goodness me, now it's he's a project for next season now, isn't he? Because of the quality we've got at the moment.
Yeah, and to be fair, Young has done nothing wrong on the pitch, and all of a sudden he's dropped, but it seems to work at the moment. But will he come back in? Will he not come back in? If I was Young, I'd feel, whoa, what have I done? But we've got the quality of the players to as you say, rotate. So, and it doesn't affect the midfield that we've got at the moment, and they're all superb. So, I mean, Parkinson must have a headache every week, every match day, thinking which team, and perhaps he picks a team based on the opposition that we're playing.
Yeah, most likely.
I think there might be some element of that, but I also think that it's more likely they're going to do it because of us, because we are so dominant in terms of quality that we are in a position. Don't get me wrong, I've seen Parkinson make alterations which I think are looking to exploit certain things about other teams, but we are so good. The first and foremost thing is we pick the team that we want in order to perform and dominate the game, if you see what I mean. I feel I should say one of the forbidden things that was in my head a year and a half ago. I think I'm safe to say so now. When we appointed Phil Parkinson, I was listening to a few different podcasts, players who used to play for him, and obviously some of them were effusive in their praise. A couple weren't, and they gave well, I was going to say gave the implication. They didn't give the implication. They said straight out that they felt that you could pressure him into putting you into the team by complaining. And I thought, well, I hope that's not true, because that's not a good trait in a manager. Well, I think the way that he has handled these players blatantly shows that's absolute rubbish, because the way he's handled the squad, which now is so massive, and managed to keep it coherent, managed to keep players happy, managed to keep results coming when he rotates. This guy knows what he's doing. I'm sorry. that talk I heard, I think I can completely dismiss.
Yeah, I think anybody who had the doubts about Parkinson, I think he's been a superb manager for us. It's taken his time to get the players in that he wanted to get in, but now, we can see the fruits of his labours, and he's done a fantastic job.
It irritated me a little bit, because an awful lot of people seem to be criticising him and making assumptions about him before he had a chance to do the job. And one of them, people kept saying early on, "Oh, he's very negative." Well, I mean, his track record doesn't really suggest that, I would argue. And then people saying he plays 5 at the back, he's negative. It's like, we don't play 5 at the back, we play 3 at the back. But it's just that's all the.
The last time we were promoted, we played the similar sort of formation.
Exactly. It's nonsense, isn't it? And we scored a hell of a lot of goals.
When have we ever scored 100 goals in a season before?
Yeah, precisely. Well, last season, in the sense of, he's been consistently for 2 years. His approach has been, we've got quality, we will rip into sides. And if we've had any weakness, it's been that sometimes we'll let goals in as well as we push on. But it's the right approach. But, people are trying to say these sort of things, you're sort of thinking, but what you see on the pitch, like the way he'd make those substitutions when we go to the Diamonds and the back four, and, we'll have 3 strikers and Elliot Lee on the pitch at the same time. And then, I know last season he didn't have Lee, but he was doing that, and then people would say, "Oh, he's negative, don't he?"
I don't think we've seen as entertaining football at the racecourse for many a year.
Absolutely.
No, I can't remember the last time. Well, the last promotion season, I think.
I mean, that was wonderful, but even then, this is what is consistently better, isn't it? Because that season, it took us until about January to really properly as Australia.
True, we were playing at a higher level then as well.
Yeah, true. I'm not trying to belittle that team. They were brilliant. But, 2011, 12, of course, and 98 points.
That's
that was fabulous, wasn't it?
That was amazing.
But this feels something again, could we really are blowing teams away.
Which is crazy that we haven't won the league yet, really.
Yeah.
It just shows how good Notts County are, doesn't it? They're really, really pushing us to the limit. And I think that's what's making this season so epic, is that there is another side right behind us, pushing us all the way. And I don't think we maybe would dig deep and get the results if we didn't have a really close enemy in some ways.
I definitely think there's something to that. If you've got an opportunity to relax, when like teams like Luton have won the league, they didn't really have anyone challenge, pushing them in the same way that we've got Notts County. Yeah, they might not have broken points tallies and stuff, but that Luton side was probably as good as ours. They could just afford, in some ways, to drop points because they didn't have that push. Both us and Notts County have to win every single game, and we've clearly got both teams have got the management and the players to handle that pressure, and both teams are performing. Sadly for us in some ways, as well as happily for us in some ways. It's a funny season, I hope we can put it to bed very soon because it's adding years to my life.
I guess it keeps our lads on their toes, and as I think Foster said, at the weekend, we've got 7 cup finals still to play, which it is. We've got 7 cup finals, we've got 7 games we win, but the big one's going to be Bank Holiday Monday against County.
Well, so speaking of Ben Foster, we haven't even spoke about him yet, and we had a player who's playing in the Premier League last season make his second debut for Wrexham, and he looked good, didn't he, Bill? I must say.
Oh, I can't even the whole week in the build up to it all was so bizarre because it was all the rumours flying around like there always is with these sort of things, and obviously he was rumoured at the start of the year, and he's come out since then and said things which actually meant that we did approach him, and I didn't think that was true, And then he comes out and it's just like, yeah, Ben Foster's going to sign. It's like, whatever. We keep saying that. Howard's going to be fine. We don't need to sign another keeper. If we do, maybe it's just another body in the building. And then it keeps gathering momentum. And, you were... What were we doing? We were doing something. And your Mrs. Laura said, oh, yeah, someone on fans chat saying that we're going to sign 2 players tonight. And it was like, whatever. And that's just typical Facebook rumours of people just saying, oh yeah, I know the groundsman's cousin, and he said that we're signing 3 players this weekend, and then we go and sign Billy Waters, and you think, oh, nice
good
one,
signing, yeah.
Finally got that Mullin backup that we've all talked about previously, and then the next day it's like, yeah, Ben Foster's signed, crazy, like it's just. You've got a Premier League standard goalkeeper. Spurs and Newcastle have been after him this season. It might have been in a backup capacity, but he's coming to play in the National League, and not for money. He's doing it for exposure. Yeah, it's all a business move, isn't it? And obviously you can clearly see emotionally he's invested. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But this is a very savvy business move by 2 parties who. It could be the signing that takes us over the line because he looked absolutely incredible on Saturday.
His handling skills were 100%. I mean, the ball just glued to his hands whenever he went for that ball.
And there was no panic or any keeper in the National League. And I no disrespect because they've got more talent in their little finger than I'll ever have from a footballing point of view. But even the best keepers in this division, you get a bit worried when they come for a cross or whatever because they've not got that Premier League composure, but Foster's certainly got it. That ball he sprayed to Lee towards the end of the game. Dear me, that throw was just it was incredible.
He looks physically imposing as well, doesn't he, compared to a lot of goalkeepers at this level. I think it's a cracking signing. Yeah, and Fozcast as well. Yeah, that coming back. A lot. I used to love his match day vlogs. I thought they were really cool, but didn't see him in a Wrexham top doing it and playing it in the race course. This takeover just doesn't stop getting wild, does it, Mark?
Yeah, but don't talk to me about Ben Foster. He's made me look a fool the last week.
Yeah.
I tell you. When the story broke that he'd been offered a deal in the summer, and then like a day later, Lainton gets injured, I'm thinking, this is the worst possible timing because now all the crazy talk about Foster will come in will start, and it did, and I was like. Saying to all and sundry, look, this is just imagination. This will not happen. Listen to me. I know this will not happen. So then he signed. Speaking of which, Neil, do you know where you were when JFK was shot? I mean, when we signed Ben Foster? Because that's the thing that everyone's going to remember.
It was announced late in the evening, wasn't it? Was it?
I think he was shot in the morning, actually. I suppose time difference, isn't it?
In Whitchurch, yeah.
Oh, well, there we Whitchurch, yeah. What time is it there now? Yeah. 1863? Something like that. Yeah.
But I thought you guys put it on our...
In the morning it was, yeah.
Was it in the morning?
There was fairly solid rumours going around the night before, but it wasn't announced until the morning, was it?
Funnily, I was listening to Mark's Ask WXM podcast.
Oh!
And the way he was talking about Ben Foster on it, and this was announced like 10 minutes ago, and I was listening to it, and I was just laughing to myself because it was quite funny.
I put it out just about after,
a
couple of hours after the Foster news broke, and I did put in the description and all the socials that the Foster discussion just shows how little I know. And then having done that, having signed, it's then, but will he play? The bloke retires, he's not played football since last May. He hasn't trained, according to him, as a goalkeeper. He obviously keeps himself fit, but he hasn't actually done any goalkeeper training since he retired. So match sharpness is an issue for goalkeepers as well. And I just thought, well, there's no way we're going to start him. Maybe he can have a couple of weeks training to get up to speed. Oddly, didn't play in the reserve game the day before. But surely Howard starts on Saturday, and then we see how it progresses. And his first interview didn't make me think anything different from that. So I was confidently saying to everybody, look, kids. I call everyone kids now, I've decided. I'm a 60s sort of guy. He's a backup. We've brought him in, but we're not going to... We got him there, and maybe he'll develop. But at the moment, he's a backup. And so, yeah, he played. And every single thing I've said about Ben Foster has been completely wrong.
Like you, I thought 99% that Howard would start on Saturday. I thought he'd see how we played, get a bit more training with the squad, and then bring him in for the next game. But to actually see him there...
The only thing that made me doubt was that he did 2 interviews. He had one before training, where I thought he didn't really commit himself at all. And then he did after training, when he did not talk like a man who has come to be a substitute. Yeah, you know, he was talking about my hands feel great, and I thought, oh, actually, you've come here to start straight away.
Yeah, you couldn't imagine him just coming here, just sit on the bench, could you? Really?
True. Yeah,
Wouldn't really make sense for him with it.
No.
I don't think.
No. Well, I agree, but I also think you could spin it around that way if you think about what you said, Bill, that this is a savvy deal for everyone. And, you know, like you said, you hear people talking, oh, how much money we offered him? I don't, very little, it would seem. But he certainly says that it's because he wants to have a high-profile media career. He already has that, because you can see how our socials, our numbers have gone through the roof because Ben Foster plays for us now. That's astonishing, isn't it?
Speaking of that, not to interrupt you too badly, Mark, but I looked at the hot take numbers were something like 7.3 thousand, which is good for the hot take. You know, it's a solid number. Yeah. Ben Foster's post-match interview was like 150,000. Yeah. When I last looked, God knows how long it is.
I had to look about an hour ago.
Right.
And the post-match one was about 180,000. Wow. And his initial interview with the club is past 200,000. So, I mean, you know, let's be honest. He's a big dog in the social media world, and he has given a boost to us. But we bring something into the party, not least Ryan Reynolds. Correct. And, you know, straight away he's been able to put on his first blog, you know, featuring Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. I mean, clearly that conversation is very quick about the wage, because it's basically, I don't need the money, but I will be in Welcome to Wrexham. I'll clearly be a sort of story point in Welcome to Wrexham. Plus, you know, will Ryan do some content with me? Will Rob do some content with me? It's a win-win, isn't it? You know,
it's that American exposure as well, isn't it? Which he wouldn't have got usually. You know, look, we'll be talking about it later in the podcast, but the fact that we're going to be playing a game in America against Man United is just... A game against Man United is absolute... Manchester United.
Oh, right. They're local.
Yeah. Is absolutely bonkers, but... What else was absolutely bonkers was Sunday, and I think it was a historic game. I think after this we'll be talking about that.
I'm Luke Young, and this is Dragonheart.
Sunday, it was excellent, wasn't it, guys? And me and Bill have got 2 different, you know, ways of viewing the game. You guys covered it, so I'm expecting some fantastic tactical analysis from you guys, and we're gonna probably
the sarcasm dripping from his voice there,
and we're gonna be talking about how it was like, you know, in the stands, because it was completely different to what
totally different. Totally different to the men's game, is it?
Well, it was quite telling. I thought we got an Ask Wrexham question from one of our American listeners at the start of half time, saying, "Why is there no singing?" And we were explaining, weren't we, that this is a different crowd. I mean, massive amounts of children, a lot more women than you'd normally see. Obviously, the diehards there as well, but nonetheless, it was a different crowd, and that's what made it superb, because you're, from a selfish Wrexham point of view, maybe creating new fans of the club, both men and women, by bringing them in, and also just in general, you are introducing that idea of football's fun, just in general. Play it, watch it, come along, have a good time.
Yeah.
So I thought it was superb, that.
I don't think you could have put that any better, because I took my 2 kids. It was their first. Well, it wasn't my eldest's first game, but it was my youngest. Wesley's not even 2 yet, and he was glued to it, wasn't he, for the whole game, wasn't he?
He was. He is football mad. Wes,
He's absolutely football mad. He's singing Wrexham songs as soon as we got home, all the way there and all the way back. But I just really, really liked it. I really enjoyed the different pace.
More of an honest game. I said to Mark, I think, during the commentary, they get injured, they're going down, and they're straight back up again. It's so much more of an honest game, I think, the women's game than the men's game. The pace is maybe a little bit slower, but the skills there. Our left back, and I can't remember what her name was, the blonde-haired girl, which I put my foot in with you.
Oh, man, love it.
Love it, yeah. Great player, a great player. Every tackle she won, she had 100% commitment. Great. And as you say, it was just a totally different game to watch than the men's game. Pace was a little bit slower, but physicality of it wasn't. They were all going in for 100% on that game, and it was a good game to watch. And for Wrexham to come out winners 2-1, win the league, 100% win rate throughout the season, in front of 9,500 fans, beyond their wildest dreams. They've never played in front of that big a crowd ever, and it must have such a big occasion for all those players on the pitch as well.
What I really loved about the whole occasion was, we're lucky to have Jordan Davis in the men's first team and Clough, who's come through the youth setup, but to have a team nearly full of Wrexham women, if not Wrexham fans or Wrexham born, they were at least North Wales based in some way or another, and they were all. You could just see how absolutely buzzing they were to play in front of a full packed out racecourse, which they're living our dream, Chay, aren't they? How often have you, even as an adult, daydreamt about scoring the winner for Wrexham in front of a crowd like that?
9,000, the men would have dreamed of getting that themselves a few years ago. It was really, really good. I loved the change of pace. Going to the men's game on the Saturday, where it was really, really intense, and the crowd was intense, and people were screaming at the referees and et cetera, in the crowd. You had none of that.
No.
Everyone was having fun. There was lots of little kids there who were, brought their snacks in and what have you, and were enjoying themselves. And it was just something a little bit different. And I was talking to my girlfriend after it, and we were like, next season, we're going to try and go to all their games because we enjoyed it that much. The kids enjoyed it that much. We're going to try and get there as much as possible.
My favourite bit was probably, and you were sorting you were sorting the kids out somewhere else, but I'd gone down to get signatures with our cousin Edie, who's she's 14, and she's played a little bit of football herself, and the way her face lit up when she went to get some signatures off some of the women was just to see a young girl being inspired like that, seeing other women playing in front of a packed out racecourse. That was really, really nice. It was a lovely experience, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't. My lads who, one of my eldest lad's not that into football. He was loving it. Yeah. When that Rosie Hughes goal went in at the end, everyone was going wild. The kids were loving it. It was just the only thing I didn't love was the guy with the horn.
And he was on the other side. He was on the other side of the pitch to you as well.
Yeah, you can still hear.
Literally, he was 10 foot away from us.
I do apologise. I have to mention that. Please don't bring horns into the football ground.
The guy was a young girl.
Was it? Oh, sorry.
And it drove us nuts, didn't it? It really did. I genuinely couldn't hear myself commentating when the horn was on at all. And we had a couple of, because we had to use a different setup, we did have some audio problems at the start anyway, which made it worse again. But oh my gosh, it was just... it was just driving us crazy, wasn't it?
And we were hoping it's going to run out of gas, but it was one of these. It was one of these pump horns which carried on going and going and going. And the poor girl, she only used it when Wrexham either had a goal, because she's from Connors Quay, whether Wrexham had a throw-in or whether Wrexham had a goal kick.
It reminded me of going to watch Wales from about 2002 to 2004 in the millennium when everyone had those horns. Please don't bring them into the football ground. It kills the
Are they
atmosphere.
what are they called? The
Vuvuzelas.
Vuvuzelas, that's the ones.
That was horrendous. But anyway, back to what happened on the pitch. And I've got to say, all credit to Connah's Quay as well, because I thought they were brilliant. I thought they really matched us, went toe-to-toe for us in the first half. I really forgot the player's name. There was a...
Corral.
She looked really good.
Outstanding, wasn't she?
Does she fancy wearing a red shirt next season? Because that would be
Connah's
something.
Quay playing red normally. So.
Oh, yeah.
Play of the game for me, she was.
Yeah, I think so too.
She was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Her work rate.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I said exactly the same to Mark. I hope we sign her for next season.
Yeah, I can't see why not.
Well, she really was impressive, wasn't she? It was very hard to get the ball off her. And she covered a lot of grounds, not just up and down, but laterally as well. She'd get on the flanks and beat people and try and find ways in. I thought, they did very well first 15 minutes. They're a bit more direct and a bit more physical than us. And it was too easy for them to find her or to find other players in attacking areas there. The two strikers, Harley and Wild McGregor. That's a great name, isn't it? They were hitting them and they were running down the channels and running at defenders. And like you say, you could see now in Lovitz the quality of tackling, but there was a lot of really good individual defending by the entire back four, because there had to be, because they were getting exposed, and it was turning into a game of individual duels. Actually, to be fair, both ends, their two fullbacks got a real testing from Lightfoot and Pritchard, and then Whitefoot, who set that goal up so brilliantly. But the way that Phoebe Davis, her tackling was equally ferocious. Lily Jones and Katie Sharp in the middle really defended the centre of the penalty area well under a bombardment. We defended extremely well and earned the right to settle into the game and start to move the ball around, and it didn't hurt, of course. That TJ Dickens scores a worldie, the Ronaldinho doing David Seaman,
See, now where from we were sat, I wasn't 100% convinced she meant that, but after watching the highlights, it was quite clear that she meant it. Yeah. Hell of a shot.
We said at the time, when they put a one-person wall up, we said, she's going to go for goal. And what an effort.
Brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Perfect judgment.
Yeah. And at the time, I think Wrexham were on the back foot, because Connah's Quay were dominant in the first 15, 20 minutes. I think maybe
didn't they?
Yeah, maybe the occasion overawed the Wrexham women for a while in the beginning because of where they were and the big crowd. They took a while to build into the game, but I think we're very lucky to not concede a goal in the first 15, 20 minutes. I thought Connah's Quay were the far better team.
I didn't think it was so much the occasion as I thought that Connah's Quay got things right.
Yeah,
they started very well. They had a clear game plan. They were getting the balls into areas of the pitch where they could hurt us. They were quite competitive in midfield and were winning the second balls they could put there in again, and they were getting the game played on their terms. And I think that goal was important insurance to make sure that we got through a rough 15 minutes level, because we happened to get a goal out the blue like that, because we could have lost the game, I think, in that period, because Del Morgan made a couple of good saves. That tip round the post, that was a superb save. We were right behind that, and she must have seen that really late, and she's managed to get down and get a hand onto it when it's almost past her. That was an outstanding save.
I want to give credit to both the goalkeepers.
Yeah,
I think
both keepers did very well.
Connah's keeper played really, really well as well.
That was a game where there should have been more than 3 goals.
Yeah.
And the goalkeepers and some excellent, I would say, individual defending rather than just talking about units was what kept the score down.
Yeah, 100%.
But the exposure the women's game got now in Wales, being shown live on S4C, and world exposure, and having Robin Ryan there as well, has done massive.
I'm going to be horrible now, and I'm going to say I don't want to give S4C that much credit for it.
No, I'm not saying, but...
No, I know, and I'm just saying that I think, why the hell didn't they put it on actually S4C instead of just on online?
It was online,
platform?
wasn't it? Yeah.
Wasn't on the actual channel. I think that's poor.
Yeah.
With it being such a big game, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, this was a major cultural moment, and I think it should have been given the respect it deserved in that sense. And certainly the club, I think, could have just done it ourselves, but S4C have stepped in. Whether they made it clear we're not actually going to put it on the channel or not, I'm not sure. But it's a high-profile thing here, but maybe not in other parts of Wales as much because it wasn't on the television. So I think that's quite poor, personally. I've got to say some of the coverage was poor. My wife came to the game. bought 20
seen it.
tickets,
Yeah,
and took friends and family, the kids, loads of them come to football for the first time. They had a brilliant time. But she was fuming the next day because she was looking at the S4C coverage and consistently, I'm sorry, I like S4C and the people there are very good, but I thought this was really bad.
They weren't watching the game.
Yes, they were.
People watching.
But worse than that, I thought they were constantly cutting away from the game and interviewing people in the crowd. So there's no commentary. You can hear the crowd going crazy. And some of these interviews were long, and you genuinely weren't watching literally 2 or 3 minutes of the game. I'm sorry, if you watch a football match, you want to see what's happening. If they did that in the Cardiff City match, can you imagine the outcry of not being able to see what was going on?
Well, it's not Soccer Aid, is it? We're not watching some charity match.
Thank you.
between-
Yeah. I thought it was patronising. I thought it was, it's women's football, so we'll do it a bit different.
It's only Wrexham.
People won't be able to sustain interest in this, so we'll talk to some Canadians in the crowd. Those Canadians in the crowd, by the way, were brilliant and fascinatingly articulate, and you should be talking to them at half time for 10 minutes. They were brilliant. Yeah. But I also had a feeling of, they've come all the way here and they can't watch a football because they're being interviewed. I mean, what the hell's the point of that? But, can you imagine watching a game of football, wanting your team to win? Because I'm sorry, women's football is competitive football, S4C, but you can't watch big chunks of it. You know what? I'm going to go home now because I'm on my iOS. I'm going to ride it home and I'm going to time how many minutes of the second half we didn't get to watch football. Because I bet you it's over 5. And that's awful.
This is what happens when Mark Griffiths cancels his hair appointments. He's got time to do things like this.
Do you realise this is the anniversary of my all-you-can-eat buffet? I'm getting a bit emotional now. But I thought that was shocking. Absolutely shocking.
100%.
And I've got to be frank as well and say that, and I'm not. This is not the reason I'm ranting, but I think it illustrates that there were a couple of key moments that I wanted to put into the highlights because I edited the highlights off that.
They went there.
And I have to show them, there was a tackle on the second half when Pritchard looked like she was going to score, and it was a superb last-ditch tackle on her. They cut from talking to somebody in the crowd to the actual tackle, the contact, not even the approach to slide in of the tackle. They cut from that to crunch, a tackle in the goalmouth. And it's like, you're not even watching the game to see when you could cut back. So, I mean, you look at it on the highlights and you'll see that I've really tried to work hard to squeeze as much of it in as possible and leave the replay in. But our commentary, I don't think, I can't leave our commentary in because it's not, because I don't commentate over it. There's nothing to match up to.
I don't even understand how, if you're going to interview these people, why can't you just have the video of the game
small
on?
Picture in picture, or just listen to them and watch the game.
Yeah, that's
the priority, is the game, surely. Yeah. I find it...
That's very celebrity YouTube football-y styles thing, football, and that's disgusting, isn't it?
But it is saying, this is women's football, it's not real football, and that's awful. And if they're not meaning that, then they need to stop and have a think. I do think they're great generally. Please don't get me wrong.
It is a massive shame that, because Scorio is usually really good, isn't it? And the coverage they give to the Welsh Premier League is usually pretty decent, so that is a bit of a shame, really.
Although we should praise them for one thing, which is that they had a long lingering cut to us, Neil, didn't they?
They did.
We went back and had a look at that.
Which was posted on the Ask Wrexham, wasn't it?
Yes,
by
that's
Be a
right.
Bear. Is it Be a Bear?
Be a Bear Beer, one of our American fans, brilliant he is. And I just think they were just trying to piggyback on the celebrity glamour of Disney's Mark Griffiths and the Athletics' Neil Williams. Let's be honest. If you look closely, you can see that one of our security detail is on the walkie-talkie ordering our post-match pizzas and brandy.
Brandy.
Yeah, pizzas and brandy. The name of my 2 kids. Sorry.
Let's get back to the game, though. We need to have a Rosie Hughes appreciation segment, don't we? Because
energy level.
She's dynamic, isn't she? She's so fast. She can take on players. I'd be great to see maybe her in a Wales top in the future. Why not?
I mean, she's quality, and she really is. I mean, the number of times that she brought the ball down and she's got that awareness of how to lay it off. She knows where people are in space and she can make passes that progress to move. The touch is superb. Her ability to take people on. I mean, the goal, I want to talk about the goal, but remember that point in the first half where she brings down the centre circle, back to goal, 3 Connor's key players on her, and she just turns all of them in one move, and she's
Yeah.
past them, and it's like, whoa. And then you're thinking, okay, she's going to pass this now. She commits a defender, and instead of pass, she beats her. And then you think, okay, and now she lays her off, and then just beats another one, and hits a shot, which when you look at it from behind, the angle behind the goal, that's bottom corner. That's left foot bottom corner. And the defenders managed to get a block and deflect it. But, she's class. But that goal, that goal.
It's going to be an iconic goal, isn't it, to look back on? Because, the crowd being so huge, of it being the first competitive women's game in such a long time, and for us to lift the trophy at the racecourse in front of all those people, that is just, what a special moment forever that'll be for her, won't it?
Yeah, the only disappointing part of it is even though they won the league, they haven't actually got promoted, which is the biggest disappointment. They've gone through all that effort, and they've got a playoff match against Britain Ferry, which we believe is going to be held at Newtown on the 16th, is it?
No, I think it's a week after, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Maybe wrong there. But
I'd like to go.
Well, we were saying exactly the same. If we're going to, we could possibly do commentary from there, because they'll have the facilities to do that there as well.
Yeah. Going back to that goal as well, I just got to say, have you seen the Lily Whitefoot video when she signs for Wrexham, which is absolutely fantastic, where she's put the Wrexham shirt on and she turns to her camera and is going nuts like it's because she's a childhood fan of the club. And then she did so well. The assist from her, that was one of those really sort of visceral, heart-pumping goals that you can't help but get excited about.
Yeah.
It's like Jerry McDonough against Forest Green Rovers. We are defending a corner. Phoebe Davis, who I've got to say, proper no-nonsense defender, playing right back or centre-back, she was excellent, gets a proper clearance on it, and then there's just that moment. It's the drama of sport, isn't it? The ball's bouncing tantalisingly in space. You got a defender running at it from one direction. You got Whitefoot coming in the other direction, and you just can't see who's going to get there first. They say, "Oh, if she gets there first, we're in here." And she just manages. She does so well because there's contact between the players, but she manages to keep her balance and then play it, the perfect pass to Hughes, because she plays it in behind her. Then that momentum's gone, but she plays that perfect pass into her path, and there's, okay, she's still got to beat the defender and the keeper. And Andrews, the defender, I thought was a real scrapper, right back over those battles. But you just knew Hughes had too much. Once she got the first touch to nudge it past, she's too quick now. And then the way she gave the shoulder, dropped over the shoulder to the keeper, it was just building up and building up and building. Oh, it was a wonderful goal, wasn't it?
Whitefoot's a real prospect as well, isn't she?
That's great.
I believe she was in the same school year as my stepdaughter, so she's only 16, 17. So that's a bright future ahead for her if she's got that kind of composure at 16 or 17, isn't it?
And you look at the under-19s presentation, how many of the players playing for the senior team have also been playing for the under-19s.
Like 5 of them, wasn't it, I think?
It's fantastic, isn't it? So, Amber Lightfoot, for example, second top scorer in the senior team in the whole division after Rosie Hughes, a real class attacking player. She's in that under-19s. Lily Jones, who I thought a key moment in the game was putting her into midfield as well, because I thought she was excellent at the back. But when they put her into midfield, she's Roy Keane, she's just box to box, constantly. Patrick Vieira, just constantly in there, winning tackles, driving play forwards, making good passes, and just bothering the opponents. I know it's a bit dim thing to say. And I thought in the first half, I noticed that she chased Corral at one point into her own half and tackled her. And how many times did Corral get tackled? But she's only a young girl, and another big Wrexham fan. But there are so many young prospects. Mia Roberts coming on. There's so many young prospects in that squad and in that team. And I've missed out Kim Dutton, the skipper. They're all diehard Wrexham fans as well. It's brilliant, isn't it?
It's brilliant.
Yeah,
and they're all still at the racecourse now signing autographs because they were making such a slow, signing all the autographs going around the edge of the pitch. It was amazing, wasn't it?
I did comment on that they took a long time to get around the pitch.
But
the winning goal epitomises Wrexham Football Club for me. The never say die attitude, whether it be the women's team or the men's team. We always we always play to the last minute of the game, and that just totally epitomised that. And I was even up on my feet cheering when we scored the winning goal on Sunday.
You don't get Neil on his feet cheering when there's a Wrexham goal very often, do you?
No, not very often.
on our commentator cam, when we put the highlights up, most of it, all we can see is your waist. You just stand there and go on. It's brilliant.
It's built in, isn't it?
Can I make a little quick statistical point?
Go on.
I'm cheating now because I've cribbed this from the Wrexham Anorak I wrote, but just a point about that attendance. I mean, the obvious stuff, biggest ever attendance for a women's game in Wales, which is fantastic. I think more striking, bigger than any League of Wales crowd ever. We are in a position here, if Cardiff and Swansea want to take up the gauntlet, where the Women's League could become more important than the Men's League in Wales, which is remarkable. But then also, bigger than any attendance at the racecourse between the Boston game, which was the 5th of May 2007, and the 30th October last season.
Wow.
So that's not bad, is it, really? 14 years we didn't get a crowd like that in the racecourse at all. And then 31 of the 72 clubs in League One, League Two, and the Conference, or National League rather, have not had an attendance as big as that this season.
Amazing.
I mean, wow. That says a lot about so many things going on at the moment.
If we do get promoted, we win this playoff game, etc., I really like to see us maybe, and this is no disrespect to Ponky Banks, because it's served us really well, isn't it? But I would like us to see us playing in more maybe improved.
And your facility would be, we had this conversation as well, because somebody asked that question on Ask
somewhere
as well.
where, I can take, you can, maybe you have to pay to get in, what have you, not like Ponky Banks, and really improve and grow the Wrexham women's team. And it'd be ideal for us to play at the racecourse week in, week out, but whether that's feasible at this point in time,
we didn't agree
it
with
will
that.
not be, because,
Yeah.
But there's plenty of Welsh League standard grounds in and around Wrexham.
But a part of getting that licence will be that the ground has got to be
Up to standards.
an actual stadium with media facilities as well, things like that. But every male League of Wales team has had to fulfil that. So any local team who's been in the League of Wales in the last 10, 15 years would fit the bill. Yeah. And as one person rightly said on Ask Wrexham, why don't we just play at Chester? Because they're not really needed it.
And it is half in Wales.
Well, yeah.
There you go, yeah, perfect.
No, but locally we did settle on Kevin, didn't we?
Seems it's the most local team ground.
Brickfield. They have stands, they have facilities, they have a gantry.
Okay.
Oh,
Right.
that'd be nice for us. We're down the road from there.
I'm only throwing that out there because it's literally down the road from my house. But they could easily build on that, and it's right in the middle of town.
That's an interesting point, isn't it? Because we're looking at ready-made solutions, which sounds just like a sort of mid-Wales League of Wales team. Oh, sorry. Sorry, beg your pardon. But it could also be that we make a contribution locally by actually building up a local team's facilities.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point.
Brickfield do have a gantry, and they do have stands, and they do have like a facility to get drinks and things like that.
They may not have all the things you need to get the license, but they might
invest that sort of thing into.
I mean, another place similar to that we need investment, which could work, would be Queensway.
That would be good.
So you could be doing something to, like I say, for the local area, just like when we went to 9 Acre, and the idea was, well, we sort of reclaimed that now as a, for the community as a good sort of sporting facility.
There's Lex and there's Rosuchlin who've got stands and things like that now that you could build on as well. There is plenty of decent Gresford and places like that. There's Chirk. There's plenty of good facilities in and around the area. I'm sure the club will find the most suited.
I suspect we're going to have to look at, assuming we go up, we're going to have to look at the moments, because we're doing the application now, a club at the moment which has got those facilities now. Yeah. Maybe that's something down the road. We're just sitting here spending Rob and Ryan's money. It's beautiful, isn't it?
But the closer to my house, the better, because I want to watch the women's game every week.
Yeah. And I think that kind of it accidentally comes on a point. Like, I've seen a lot on social media, people saying about why we don't cover it, especially the international fans who are maybe used to the women's game and getting as much exposure as the men's. Just a reminder, we are completely volunteer led. We don't necessarily always have the time to go to every single game, etc. Like we said last week, it's difficult for me to cover all the men's stuff, never mind the women's stuff, but watch this space for next season. I think it's the kind of thing that we're going to look at over the summer and see where the changes or improvements can be made.
I'm not even sure if I want to cover the women's games. I think I want to go with my family.
Get
because
lost then.
because it's like such
It's a family day out for you.
we
and the
went
kids
me,
enjoy
me,
it.
me and my girlfriend went home on Sunday and we thought that's cost us a £5. The kids loved it, you know. My girlfriend loved it, my nan loved it. You know, we had such a great time. It didn't cost us much money, and why can't we have the women's game as like a complete opposite sort of thing to what the men's game is, where it's like a good family day out and it's affordable for people.
Can I ask you, were you as emotionally involved with that as you are with the men's game?
Yeah, you know what? I got towards the end of the game. I really got into it.
I would say the same, yeah, exactly the same. At the beginning, it's yes, Wrexham, but it's not. Doesn't feel like it's in my blood like the Wrexham men's team is. But towards the end of the game,
it turned into that.
yeah, it did. You actually got into it.
You need to get to know the players and watch them week in, week out to really fully get that feeling, don't you? But well, there's a solution to that. We'll have to go every week, won't we?
Yeah.
Even if I don't go every week, if I want to go now, me and my girlfriend sat down and said, we're gonna go. We're gonna go at least a lot more than what we have done, because it's
Especially if they get promoted and they play the bigger teams, you know.
And I gotta say, my two kids, they didn't care if it was men or women. They didn't know.
Yeah.
They got home.
Football
They
game.
just watched the game of football in the stadium.
And that was sort of the point I was trying to make last week as well, is that it'll be not only it's obviously absolutely amazing for young women, but it'll be great for young lads to grow up
watching
women's football and growing up not knowing a difference. Just that's Wrexham women's today. Oh, we're going to Wrexham men's next week. Oh, nice one.
Because I know when I was a kid, I was like, oh yes, I get to watch a Wrexham game on a Saturday and a Sunday.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I'm going to watch Wrexham on Saturday and Wrexham on Sunday. I want to get to the point where it's not even saying Wrexham women's, just saying the Sunday Wrexham game and the Saturday Wrexham game, because they were both as equally as entertaining. In fact, I enjoyed myself more on the Sunday game than I did the Saturday game.
Yeah.
Is that because you had your family with you as well,
I had
which
my
made
family
more of a
with-
family
and
event?
it was a lot more relaxed and it was a lot more enjoyable rather than being.
The stresses of following Wrexham Football Club, trying to get promoted and winning, and
I'm only 22.
Hi guys, I'm Dominic Vose and this is Dragonheart.
Well, we were going to talk about the San Diego Manchester United Wrexham match.
Yeah.
Who?
We've completely overcooked the two games. There's way too much to talk about on both of them, thankfully. So we'll talk a little bit more about that next week.
Yeah, it'll get more detail by next week,
Yeah,
probably, won't we?
we'll have more
I believe it's a
detail.
little bit of a tour, so we might know a little bit more about other games that may or may not be happening anyway. So
They've said they're announcing in early April all the other details
Oh,
of the
okay,
tour.
right,
So
yeah.
tickets go on sale next month as well.
no tickets are already on sale
Yeah.
for that match.
And what a great opportunity for Man United, a club like that.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. And a chance for some of their players to get in the same pitch as some of ours. You know, I mean,
You know, you should have seen
This is
Andy
amazing.
Cole. He looked flustered, didn't he? He didn't know what.
exactly. Yeah. Remember that shock cup match when they beat us?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
well.
yes, they keep crowing on about that, don't they? You know?
I gotta say though, that promo thing, a little sketch from
have you
Ryan
seen it?
Fergie, that was brilliant. That really did make me laugh. But yeah, guys, this has been a fantastic podcast. We've had so much to talk about, haven't we?
And we got the game to look forward to on Saturday as well, guys.
Another very intense game. Hopefully, Notts County start dropping some points and we just end up winning the league, because I don't think I could take this for much longer.
There's an owl on Oldham's badge, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.
Do owls and magpies get along?
I think an owl would crush a magpie in a fight.
Would they be inclined to fight? Is what I'm thinking. Will a team represented by an owl work harder to further the causes of a team represented by a magpie because they get along because they're both avian, or are they rivals?
I've got to say,
think they're all-
dragons would absolutely destroy both magpies and owls.
They'd eat him as a snack.
That's true. But what I'm saying is, will owls try harder to help magpies, or are owls ambivalent towards magpies? There's a title for the show this week. No, maybe not.
I just got to say, a dragon should destroy an owl anyway, no matter how hard trying the owl is. So I think that's a great way to wrap up the show, guys.
Will the dragon kill the devil then at the Man United game at the
Yes.
Soup Dragon Stadium?
Yes. Because we've got two dragons as well on our badge.
That's true.
So
Yeah. And feathers in case they're ticklish.
Right, I think that's a great way to wrap up the show. I've been Chay Long. I've been Whitchurch Photography's Neil Williams, Disney's Mark Griffiths, and Bill Long. This has been Dragonheart.